God is watching you. There are moments in life when silence feels like abandonment. You pray, but there's no echo. You worship, but feel no shift. You do everything right, and still, it feels like nothing's moving. You wonder, did God forget me? Did I miss something? Is my obedience even worth it? Let me tell you something powerful. God sees you. Every sacrifice, every act of quiet obedience, every tear you've cried behind closed doors. He hasn't missed a thing. You may feel invisible right now. Others get recognition, applause, promotion, attention, but you're just doing the right thing in the dark. Serving, praying, forgiving, staying faithful while no one claps for you. That may feel like punishment, but in heaven's view, that's character, that's growth, that's favor in development. God's silence is not God's absence. It's often His preparation. He is watching you, not like a judge eager to punish, but like a father carefully observing a child taking their first steps. Every wobble, every fall, every step of courage forward, He sees it all. Are not 5 sparrows sold for 2 pennies? Yet not one of them is forgotten by God. Luke 12:6. You are worth infinitely more than a sparrow. And if God has not forgotten a small bird in flight, He certainly has not forgotten you. Others may overlook you because they only see what's external. But God sees something they never could. Your heart, your motives, your inner war. You could have taken the easy road. You could have cut corners. You could have lived for comfort. But you didn't. You stayed. You fought. You endured. And God is smiling. Yes, He's proud of you. He's not waiting for you to become flawless to feel proud. He's proud because you've remained faithful. And in the kingdom of heaven, faithfulness carries more weight than fame. It's hard, isn't it? To keep showing up when no one claps. To keep praying when it feels like the heavens are brass. To forgive someone who won't say sorry. To trust when the bills are due, the diagnosis is real, and your heart is aching. But even in that place, God says, I see you. You may be invisible to people, but you are fully visible to God. You may feel unseen by the world, but heaven knows your name. And that's why this next season is shifting. Because God doesn't lift up those who market themselves well. He lifts up those who have been faithful in obscurity. He raises up the ones who didn't quit when it was quiet. God's love is not transactional. Don't believe the lie that God is only proud of you when you succeed. That's how the world operates, not the kingdom. God isn't keeping score the way people do. He's not impressed by outward perfection. He's moved by inner surrender. Sometimes your yes, Lord, in pain means more to Him than your loudest praise in blessing. Sometimes showing up in your weakness takes more faith than dancing in your strength. And in those moments where you had nothing left but still whispered, I trust you, God, He leaned in. He smiled. Because that's what real faith sounds like. Father, not taskmaster. Many believers carry a distorted view of God. They think He's constantly measuring them against impossible standards. But the truth is, God is not a taskmaster. He's a father. He's not standing over you with a clipboard. He's sitting beside you with open arms. Yes, He wants you to grow. Yes, He calls you higher. But He does so from a place of love, not pressure. He's not grading your performance. He's looking at your heart. And what He sees makes Him proud. Heaven applauds what earth ignores. The things that go viral on earth are not what heaven celebrates. Earth celebrates platforms. Heaven celebrates perseverance. Earth honors strength. Heaven honors surrender. You didn't get the promotion, but you kept your integrity. You didn't get revenge, but you chose forgiveness. You didn't walk away, you stayed and believed. That's why heaven is applauding. That's why God is preparing to lift you up. Because your heart has passed the test of the quiet place. Beloved, you may not see the full picture yet, but God does. You may not know why things have taken so long, but God does. And through it all, He's been watching, loving, guiding, strengthening. And now, He's preparing to lift you. Not just because of what you've done, but because of who you've become in the process. This is just the beginning. God is proud of you, and He's not done with your story yet.
The silent struggle. The deepest battles are often the quietest ones. Not the kind you post about, not the ones people rally around, but the kind that live in the silence of your soul, where there are no claps, no congratulations, just questions. Have you ever been there, where you're doing everything you know to do, praying, trusting, obeying, but nothing seems to be changing? That's the silent struggle. The war no one sees but heaven. And yet, that's where warriors are made. When silence hurts the most, you cry yourself to sleep, then get up and smile for others. You give generously while no one knows your own needs. You lead people to hope while privately wrestling with doubt. And you ask, God, where are you in this? Let me tell you something life-changing. Your silence doesn't mean you're alone. In fact, the silence is often the signal that God is doing His deepest work in you. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted. Psalm 34:18. God doesn't distance Himself from your struggle. He draws near to it. And while others may only see your smile, He sees the storm beneath. The strength in holding on. You may think you're weak because you're weary, but weakness isn't failure. It's part of being human. And the fact that you're still holding on, even by a thread, is strength. Don't underestimate the faith it takes just to wake up and try again, to pray one more time, to forgive one more time, to believe again when belief feels like a risk. God sees every single effort, and He records it, not just as survival, but as worship. There is no applause in the waiting room, no standing ovation for endurance, but that doesn't mean what you're doing isn't sacred. You are walking through a fire that's refining you, not destroying you. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the fire you shall not be burned. Isaiah 43:2. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. The struggle is not a sign of God's rejection, it's evidence of your assignment. The enemy fights hardest where your impact will be greatest. When you keep pouring from empty, you pour into others even when you feel empty. You encourage those who are breaking, even as you silently break too. You serve when your body is tired and your soul is heavy. That's love. That's ministry. That's spiritual maturity. And God is not blind to it. He sees that while you're giving your all, it feels like you're receiving so little. But that's about to change, because He's a restoring God. He doesn't just use you, He fills you. He doesn't just see your struggle, he responds to it.
Oil of crushing. Every anointing comes through a crushing. Grapes must be crushed to make wine. Olives must be pressed to produce oil. You too are being refined through pressure, but that pressure is not pointless. It's pushing something greater out of you. God is drawing something eternal from your temporary pain. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Psalm 35. And that joy won't just be emotional, it'll be spiritual. It will come with perspective, wisdom, strength, clarity, things only born in the silence. Why heaven honors the struggle. Heaven doesn't just honor those who succeed, it honors those who struggle well. Those who wrestle with doubt and still show up in faith. Those who question but stay anchored in truth. Those who feel broken yet remain obedient. And that's you. You are walking through a season that would have made others quit, but you're still here. Maybe not shouting, maybe not dancing, but you're still believing. And that makes all the difference. God's voice in the stillness. God's loudest work often happens in silence. Think of a seed buried underground. You can't see it growing. You can't hear it breaking, but something is happening beneath the surface. So it is with you. Just because you don't feel movement doesn't mean there's no progress. God is building roots before he reveals fruit. He's growing you down so that when he raises you up, you won't fall. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. Stillness isn't passivity. It's trust in action. Heaven knows what it cost you. You may look okay on the outside, but heaven knows the nights you couldn't sleep, the days you questioned your worth, the quiet battles with depression, with fear, with fatigue. Heaven knows the weight of showing up when you wanted to hide. And that's why the reward is coming. Not just any reward, but one designed for you. For the version of you that said yes to God, even when your heart was breaking. Beloved, this silent struggle will not last forever. The pain is not permanent. God is proud of how you've handled what was meant to break you. He's lifting you, not just because of what you did, but because of how you did it. In love, in humility, in silence, and with faith. You're not alone, and you never were. The struggle may have been silent, but the lifting will be loud. Heaven is preparing your rise. Hold on.
When obedience costs you. Obedience sounds simple until it starts costing you something. It's easy to say, "Yes, Lord," when it doesn't hurt. But what about when it does? What about when obedience leads to isolation, or heartbreak, or loss? What do you do when following God costs you relationships, opportunities, your reputation? The truth is, real obedience will cost you, but it will never cost you more than disobedience. The choice that changed everything. You've had moments, crossroads where you knew what God was asking, and deep down you knew that if you obeyed, you might lose something. A friendship, a job offer, the approval of someone you love.
a relationship that wasn't aligned with your calling. And yet, you said yes to God anyway. That was a holy decision, and it matters more than you realize. To obey is better than sacrifice. 1 Samuel 15:22. Heaven sees those kinds of decisions differently. While the world sees you as someone who gave up something, heaven sees you as someone who gave God everything. What it really meant to walk away. They may never understand why you walked away. They may never know what it cost you to choose righteousness. People will question your boundaries. They'll accuse you of being too spiritual, too serious, too different. But let them talk. You weren't trying to please people. You were trying to obey God. And obedience always looks radical to those who live comfortably in compromise. You chose to walk alone so you could walk with Him. And God is proud of that.
The loneliness that follows obedience. What no one talks about is how lonely obedience can feel. Saying yes to God doesn't always come with applause. Sometimes it comes with silence. Sometimes it comes with distance from people you love. Sometimes it comes with nights where you cry, wondering if you did the right thing. But let this truth anchor your soul. Obedience never ends in regret. You may not see the reward yet, but the reward is coming. No good thing will He withhold from those who walk uprightly. Psalm 84:11. Nothing you gave up for God is wasted. Not one tear, not one closed door, not one heartbreak. God collects every sacrifice. He stores them like treasures. He marks your surrender and builds favor on top of it. Others may forget what it cost you, but He never will. You could have stayed in comfort, but you chose calling. You could have chased popularity, but you chose purity. You could have compromised, but you chose conviction. And now, God is choosing to lift you. Don't forget, Jesus knows what costly obedience feels like. He left heaven. He gave up glory. He laid down His life not because it felt good, but because it was the will of the Father. He became obedient to death, even death on a cross. Philippians 2:8. So, when you obey through pain, you're walking in the footsteps of Christ. That's why the Father lifts you, because you're walking the same road His Son walked, and that road always leads to resurrection.
What you gained by saying no. Sometimes the win isn't in what you said yes to, but in what you had the courage to say no to. You said no to that toxic relationship, no to that shady business deal, no to that gossip, no to bitterness, no to pride. And in doing so, you said yes to growth, yes to peace, yes to alignment, yes to your future. Obedience isn't just about giving up, it's about gaining what truly matters. Maybe you thought your obedience would bring an instant reward, but instead, things got harder. The silence grew louder. You began to wonder if you made a mistake. But hear this clearly. Obedience is often tested before it's rewarded. God waits to see if you obey Him or for the outcome. But know this, the reward is coming. Not always when you expect it, not always how you pictured it, but it's coming because God is just. God is not unjust. He will not forget your work and the love you have shown Him. Hebrews 6:10. Because of your obedience, God can trust you with more responsibility, more influence, more clarity, more of His presence. You've proven that you won't bend just because others do. You've proven that you won't fold just because it's hard. And in the kingdom, obedience unlocks access. You don't just receive a reward, you receive more of God Himself. And what could be greater than that? Beloved, your obedience may have cost you, but it didn't break you. It refined you. It strengthened your spirit. It clarified your calling. And now, God is preparing to reward you openly for what you obeyed privately. Don't question your decision. Don't regret your discipline. Don't mourn what you lost in your obedience, because what's ahead is greater than what you gave up. God is proud of you, and He is lifting you, not just because you obeyed once, but because you made obedience your lifestyle. This is the path that leads to favor. This is why He's choosing you to elevate.
What others didn't see. People see the surface. God sees the soul. They see the smile on your face, but not the battle in your mind. They see your posts, your presence, your progress, but not the pressure behind it. They applaud the outcome, but they don't know the weight of what it took to get there. But God knows, and that's why He's lifting you up. No one saw you wake up early to pray before your shift. No one saw you lay hands on your children at night when they were asleep. No one said no to that party, that habit, that person, because you wanted to protect your peace and honor your calling. No one clapped for your boundaries. No one cheered when you deleted those contacts. No one noticed when you fasted and worshiped in secret. But God did, and He never forgets the unseen faithfulness. Your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. Matthew 6:6. There are weights you carried that would have crushed others, but you didn't complain. You didn't broadcast it. You simply pressed forward, quietly, painfully, faithfully. You served when you were tired. You gave when you had barely enough. You prayed for others while wondering if anyone was praying for you. And in heaven's eyes, that's heroic. You were a silent warrior in a noisy world, a steady light in a storm of chaos. That's why your lifting will be divine, not by man's hand, but by God's own timing. People admire the grace on your life, but they don't know the cost. They admire your wisdom, but they don't know it came from wounds. They admire your strength, but they don't know how many nights you cried. They admire your peace, but they don't know the war you went through to get it. The truth is, every anointing comes with a cost, and you paid the price in private. But now, God is about to make that private pain produce public favor. He's not rewarding your perfection, He's rewarding your persistence. There were times you prayed and your voice trembled. Times you didn't know what to say, so you just wept. Times you asked, "Why, God?" Not in rebellion, but in surrender. That kind of prayer doesn't get likes or comments, but it reaches heaven faster than any performance ever could. And God didn't just hear it, He felt it. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted, Psalm 34:18. He came close, He strengthened you, and now He's about to restore you. While others took shortcuts, you took the slow road. While others compromised, you chose character. While others chased platforms, you chased presence. You endured the fire, not because you were stronger,
but because you stayed connected to the source. You didn't try to avoid the fire. You let God use it to purify you. That's why you're coming out of it with power. That's why God is entrusting you with more. Because you didn't try to skip the process. Sometimes your decisions confused people. They didn't understand why you walked away from certain crowds, why you stopped answering certain calls, why you changed your habits, why you started spending more time with God and less time on distractions. They thought you were being too deep or too distant. But what they didn't know is you were being delivered. God was changing your appetite, changing your rhythm, changing your identity. And while they may not understand it, heaven celebrates it. Because it was never about their approval. It was about your obedience.
Isolation doesn't always mean something's wrong. Sometimes it means God has pulled you aside to develop you. He separated you for a season. He silenced the noise. He let the invitations stop. He let the recognition pause. Not to punish you, but to position you. To get your attention, to deepen your roots, to stretch your faith. And now that the work is done beneath the surface, He's preparing to show the fruit. The world forgets easily. People ignore quietly. But God remembers eternally. He keeps a record of every cup of cold water you gave. Every time you loved instead of hated. Every time you said yes when you wanted to quit. Every time you blessed those who cursed you. And He's not just remembering. He's preparing your reward. God is not unjust. He will not forget your work and the love you have shown Him. Hebrews 6:10. You're not just going to be lifted, you're going to be rewarded, eternally and visibly. You don't need to explain your journey to anyone. The God who saw you in the shadows is now preparing to seat you in the light. The God who watched you in the valley is now calling you to the mountain. They didn't see what you survived. They didn't see what you surrendered. They didn't see what you sacrificed. But God did. And this lifting, this favor, this shift, it's heaven's answer to everything you endured in silence. You're not being promoted by people. You're being honored by God. And that's the only recognition that lasts. Why God is proud of you. There's a sacred truth that religion rarely teaches, but your heart needs to hear. God is proud of you. Not just the version of you that gets everything right. Not just the version of you that leads or performs or inspires others. But the version of you that still shows up on hard days. The version of you that wrestles, repents, tries again. That you. God doesn't just love you, He is proud of the journey you're on. And that's why He's lifting you. Sacred truth number 1. God's standard is different. The world celebrates perfection. God celebrates progress. People look for success. God looks for surrender. You may feel like you haven't done enough, like your obedience has been messy, delayed, or weak. But God sees something different. He sees a heart that keeps coming back, that still whispers yes after the fall, that still shows up after the failure. A broken and contrite heart, O God, you will not despise. Psalm 51:17. Your humility moves His heart. Your honesty makes Him smile. Your dependence makes room for His glory. Sacred truth number 2. God knows your starting point. God doesn't measure you against others. He measures you against what He knows you've been through. People judge by appearance, but God knows the trauma you overcame, the wounds you've hidden, the battles you fought alone. He's proud of you not because you've arrived, but because you're still walking. You're still choosing Him when walking away would have been easier. You're still seeking Him when the silence hurts. You're still loving people who didn't love you back. That's what heaven celebrates. That's why your name is known in spiritual places. Sacred truth number 3. Heaven saw you change. Heaven saw when you said, "I can't keep living like this." And you turned around. You left the relationship. You deleted the app. You fasted. You wept. You forgave. Even if you fell again, you got up differently because something in you had shifted. That shift was worship. That decision was holy. That moment marked a new chapter in your spiritual legacy. And God said, "I'm proud of you for that."
One of the reasons God is proud of you is because you remained teachable. You let Him correct you. You didn't run when He disciplined you. You let the Word read you and reshape you. The Lord disciplines the one He loves. Hebrews 12:6. And instead of fighting His hand, you humbled your heart. You didn't defend your dysfunction. You invited the Holy Spirit to renovate your soul. That humility is rare, and heaven honors it. That's why your future is being built on a foundation that won't crack. Your emotions were real, but they didn't run your life. You felt the fear and walked in faith anyway. You felt lonely and still obeyed. You felt unseen, but still believed. That is spiritual maturity. That's what sons and daughters of God look like. Not people who never struggle, but people who don't let the struggle make them stop. We walk by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5:7. And that walk hasn't been easy, but it's been real. And that's why God is proud of you. You gave God your scars, your anger, your secrets, your trauma. You didn't just give Him your Sunday worship. You gave Him your wounded heart. And instead of hiding it, you let Him heal it. That takes courage. That takes trust. That takes faith on another level. And heaven celebrates it like a breakthrough. Because giving God your wounds is harder than giving Him your words. You trusted Him, and He counts that trust as righteousness.
There were people around you who quit. They walked away from their purpose. They turned their back on the process, but not you. You stayed planted. You stayed committed. You stayed available, even when it was hard. That doesn't mean you were perfect, but it means your roots went deep. And God sees roots before He allows fruit. Now He's about to release the kind of growth that lasts, because He can trust you to carry His glory without turning it into ego. You never lost your worship. Even through heartbreak, even through delay, even through confusion, you never stopped worshiping. It may have looked quiet. It may have been through tears, but you kept lifting your hands. And God took notice, because there is no worship more powerful than the one that comes through pain. No sound more sacred than a broken heart still praising God. That's why He's proud. Because you've become a true worshiper, not of outcomes, but of Him. God is proud of who you are becoming. Not because of how well you perform, but because of how fully you trust. He's proud of your resilience, your purity, your yes, your repentance, your hunger. And now, He's preparing to lift you. Not because you demanded it, but because you were faithful when no one else was watching. He saw your heart, and he said, "That's my child, and I am proud." This is your season of lifting, and it's only just beginning. You passed the test. Some of the hardest tests in life don't come with a warning. There's no announcement, no countdown, no instructions. They show up in quiet moments, in hidden struggles, in private decisions. Tests of character, tests of faith, tests of obedience when no one is watching. And whether you realize it or not, you passed. That's why God is getting ready to lift you. Tests don't always look like battles. Sometimes they look like silence. When your prayers went unanswered, when your friends didn't show up, when doors kept closing, when everything in you said give up, but you stayed anyway. That was a test. And though you didn't know it, heaven was watching. Watching how you handled disappointment. Watching how you treated others during your storm. Watching if you'd keep trusting, even when it felt like trusting wasn't working. And you did. You kept the faith. People look at outcomes. God looks at endurance. The world asks, did you win? God asks, did you stay faithful? You may have felt like a failure. You may have stumbled, cried, even questioned God along the way. But listen, you didn't quit. You didn't let bitterness harden your heart. You didn't let silence stop your worship. You didn't let struggle steal your identity. And that matters. When he has tested me, I will come forth as gold. Job 23:10. Gold isn't made in comfort. It's made in fire. And you've been refined. The test wasn't just in what you endured. It was in how you responded. You could have compromised. You could have taken the shortcut. You could have matched energy and responded with revenge. But you didn't. You chose peace. You chose restraint. You chose to hold your tongue. You chose to forgive when it wasn't fair. That's growth. That's spiritual maturity. That's passing the test. And heaven records moments like that with celebration.
When no one knew the pressure. You've walked through days with a smile on your face and a war in your soul. You showed up for work. You took care of your family. You encouraged others while quietly breaking inside. That's not weakness. That's warrior spirit. You didn't wait for life to be easy before you stayed faithful. You chose God when choosing Him cost you something. That's the kind of heart God can trust. That's the kind of soul God can lift. Temptation as a test. There were things you wanted. Things that looked good. Things that felt right in the moment. But the Holy Spirit whispered, "Not this. Not now." And even though it hurt, even though you didn't understand, you walked away. That's spiritual clarity. That's self-control. That's kingdom obedience. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life. James 1:12. You didn't just resist temptation. You chose alignment over appetite. And that's the mark of someone heaven can crown. The tests no one talks about. You were tested in patience, in trust, in how you responded to betrayal, in how you handled delay. The tests that don't make headlines, but determine everything about your future. Did you pray when you wanted to panic? Did you stay when you wanted to run? Did you bless others when your own needs were unmet? These are the tests that shape destiny. And you passed. Not perfectly, not without pain, but you passed in faith.
When you had every reason to give up. Let's be honest. There were days you wanted to walk away from everything. From your calling, from people, maybe even from life. But something deep inside you whispered, keep going. There's more. That was God, strengthening you, covering you, empowering you to pass a test you didn't even know you were in. And now, He's calling you out of the trial and into triumph. Because you didn't just survive, you submitted. Heaven's honor system. Heaven honors those who finish the race, not just those who started. And you kept running, even with a limp, even with wounds, even when you couldn't see the finish line. That's the kind of faith God promotes. That's the kind of faith God exalts. And the reward isn't just external, it's internal. You're wiser now, stronger now, more rooted now. You've been proven in fire. And now, you're ready for favor. Now He's lifting you up. The season of testing is coming to a close. The nights of tears are shifting into mornings of joy. The chapter of pressing is turning into a chapter of promotion. Why? Because God is lifting you up. Not by coincidence, not by human effort, but by divine appointment. This is not random. This is a reward. The shift has already begun. Maybe you feel it, a subtle change in the atmosphere. Peace settling in where anxiety used to live. Doors beginning to open. Strength returning to your bones. What you're sensing isn't just emotional, it's spiritual. Heaven has declared your promotion. Humble yourselves under God's mighty hand, that He may lift you up in due time. 1 Peter 5:6. And your due time is here. From hidden to honored. For so long you were hidden in your process, hidden in your pain, hidden in obedience no one applauded. But now God is bringing you into the light, not for popularity, but for purpose. He's lifting you not to inflate your ego, but to expand your influence, because you've proven that He can trust you.
When heaven promotes you, when people promote you, they can take it away. When platforms promote you, they can shift with the culture. But when God promotes you, no one can reverse it. What God opens, no one can shut. Revelation 3:7. This lifting is permanent. This favor is protected. This door is divinely assigned to your name. Not because you schemed, not because you networked, but because you trusted. Favor that doesn't make sense. The favor that's coming to your life won't make sense to those who knew your struggle. They'll wonder, how did they get there? How did this happen for them? Why now? But they didn't see the fasting. They didn't hear the groaning prayers. They didn't walk through your valley. God did, and He's rewarding what was done in secret with what will now be seen in public. Because when you humble yourself, He lifts you.
God's elevation strategy. God doesn't promote like man promotes. He doesn't look at resumes. He looks at repentance. He doesn't search for influencers. He searches for intercessors. He doesn't call the perfect. He calls the willing. That's why he chose you. Not because you had it all together, but because you let him hold it all together when you didn't. You're becoming the answer. You cried out for change. You begged God for healing, restoration, revival. And now he's lifting you up to become part of the very answer you prayed for. You're not just being blessed. You're being positioned to be a blessing. Your story will give others hope. Your journey will lead others to Christ. Your scars will be someone else's survival guide. God isn't just raising you for you, he's raising you for the ones attached to you.
New territory, new trust. This next level will require more wisdom, more prayer, more humility. But don't worry, God's not lifting you unprepared. He's bringing you up because he knows you've been forged in the fire. You've been tested in obscurity. You've been strengthened in surrender. You are ready. And he's assigning new territory to your hands. Restoration in every area. The lifting of God comes with restoration. What was stolen, he will return. What was broken, he will rebuild. What was lost, he will redeem. I will restore to you the years that the locusts have eaten. Joel 2:25. You thought some things were gone forever, but God says, watch me bring it back better than before. Elevation with humility. The higher God lifts you, the lower your posture must stay. You're not rising to be worshipped. You're rising to point to the one who lifted you. Your elevation is a megaphone for his grace, a testimony of what happens when someone chooses obedience over ambition. Stay humble, stay grateful, stay grounded. That's how you sustain what he's giving you. Child of God, this is your time. You passed the tests. You stayed faithful. You matured in silence. You sowed in tears. Now get ready to reap in joy. Heaven is lifting you, not slowly, but suddenly, not partially, but completely. Because God is proud of you. And this next season will be proof. You're going higher, not for the spotlight, but for the assignment. Let him lift you. You're ready now.
Stay lifted, stay grounded. It's one thing to be lifted by God. It's another thing to stay there. Elevation is a blessing, but staying grounded is a responsibility. Because the higher you go, the easier it is to forget where you came from. But not you. You didn't climb by pride. You rose by grace. And the same grace that lifted you will keep you if you remain humble. What got you here will keep you here. You weren't lifted because you were loud. You were lifted because you were loyal. It wasn't your title. It was your trust. It wasn't your charisma. It was your character. And that's what will sustain you. Stay in the posture that God honored. Stay in the position where heaven met you. Stay rooted in the word that kept you strong when nothing else could. He guides the humble in what is right and teaches them his way. Psalm 25:9.
The danger of altitude amnesia. Some forget God at the top. They stop praying when they stop struggling. They stop worshiping when the doors open. They forget the nights of crying, the years of waiting, the silent wars. That's called altitude amnesia. Don't let that be your story. Let your blessing drive you deeper into gratitude. Let your success lead you deeper into surrender. Let every platform be an altar, not a stage. Because you're not here by merit. You're here by mercy.
Stay small in spirit. Even if your name grows, even if your influence expands, even if people begin to celebrate you, stay small. Not in confidence, but in spirit. Don't let applause distract you. Don't let status change you. Don't let favor pull you away from the Father. Stay dependent. Stay teachable. Stay desperate for His presence. Because elevation without God is just a higher place to fall from. Keep serving like you're still in the valley. Remember when you used to serve without being seen? When you gave without needing credit? When you showed up because of love, not leverage? Keep that spirit. That's the spirit heaven honors. Promotion doesn't mean you stop serving. It means you serve wider. You love deeper. You reach farther. Jesus was the highest, and yet He knelt and washed feet. Let that be your standard. The distraction of success. Success has a way of making you feel safe, but safety can breed sloppiness. When you're lifted, temptation doesn't always come in sin, it comes in subtle substitutions. Substituting time with God for busyness. Substituting devotion for demand. Substituting purpose for popularity. Stay sharp. Stay submitted. Stay aligned. Your elevation is not just for you, it's for His name.
The prayer that keeps you safe. One of the most powerful prayers you can pray in a season of lifting is, God, don't let me outgrow my need for you. Because pride is loud, but humility keeps you safe. Your greatest protection isn't a strategy. It's staying low before God. That's what made you powerful in private, and that's what will keep you powerful in public. Staying in the secret place. No matter how far you go, never leave the secret place. The place where you and God talk without an audience. The place where tears are holy and silence is sacred. The place where no title matters, no platform exists, no applause is needed. Because that's where the oil flows. That's where you hear clearly. That's where you're reminded who you really are. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91, verse 1. Stay there. Live there. That's your true home. Who you surround yourself with now matters more. As God lifts you, your circle might shrink. Everyone celebrates when you rise, but not everyone is built to go with you. Watch for those who still see your soul, not just your status. Those who keep you accountable, not just comfortable. Those who challenge your spirit, not just praise your success. Surround yourself with people who make you better in God, not just bigger in the world. You've come far. You've endured much. And now you're rising. But don't forget the posture that brought you here. Lift your hands before you lift your head.
Bow your knees before you build your brand. Seek His face before you seek more favor. Because the goal was never just elevation. The goal was always transformation. And the more He lifts you, the more your life should reflect Him. So stay lifted, yes, but more importantly, stay grounded. You didn't just get lifted for you. Yes, God is blessing you. Yes, He's rewarding you. Yes, He's proud of you. But this rising, it's bigger than you. Because there are people coming after you, people watching your walk, people inspired by your integrity, people who need your story to believe God is still faithful. You are walking proof that surrender still works. And your elevation is planting seeds of hope for generations. Right now, there's someone struggling like you did. Someone praying the prayers you used to pray. Someone wrestling with the same doubts and fears. And they need to see your journey. They need to know it's possible to wait on God and still rise. To live clean and still be called. To walk in purity and still be promoted. You're not just an individual, you're an example. You're a living answer to someone's silent question. Can I still win if I do it God's way? Whether you realize it or not, you're carrying something heavy. Not just anointing, but representation. You represent what it looks like to trust God in real time, to stay holy in a chaotic world, to follow Jesus in a generation that follows trends. And that responsibility is sacred. Because you're not just carrying your own name now, you're carrying a mantle. And your consistency is breaking curses for someone else. They're watching what you do with favor. People are watching not just how you got lifted, but what you do now that you are. Will you still serve when it's no longer required? Will you still pray when the storm has passed? Will you still love the unlovable now that you've made it? Because that's where legacy begins. Not in how high you climb, but in how faithful you remain at the top. That's what marks a leader. That's what leaves a trail others can follow. God is using you as a roadmap. You thought your pain disqualified you, but God is using it to guide others. You thought your mistakes ruined your ministry, but God is turning your healing into a blueprint for others to escape what almost took them out. He's using you to open the door others were too afraid to knock on. Because someone is walking through what you've already walked out of. And when they see you standing, they'll believe they can too. Someone is waiting for you to speak. There's someone whose breakthrough is tied to your obedience. They don't need you to be perfect. They need you to be honest, to tell the truth about the struggle, to show what faith looks like in process, to testify that God really does come through. You don't need a stage for that. You just need to show up. Because your voice carries power, and someone's life is waiting for your echo of hope. Your children and spiritual legacy. If you have children, whether biological or spiritual, know this. They're learning from your lifestyle. More than your rules, more than your sermons, more than your advice. They're watching your choices, your consistency, your faith in hard seasons. You are shaping the next generation's view of what it means to walk with God. What you fight through today becomes freedom they won't have to earn tomorrow. That's legacy.
You're the first in your family line. Maybe no one in your bloodline followed God like this. Maybe you're the first to break cycles, set standards, walk in obedience. That's not an accident. You were chosen. And now, every time you say no to the enemy, you're rewriting your family's future. You're laying bricks where there were once only broken pieces. And one day, your descendants will say, because they stood, we can now soar. Your life is a seed. Jesus said, unless a seed falls into the ground and dies, it can't bear fruit. You died to yourself. You buried your pride. You surrendered your plan. And now, your life is beginning to sprout. But the fruit isn't just for you. It's for everyone connected to your story. Let your life preach. Let your integrity teach. Let your consistency testify. Because what God is doing in you is bigger than one season. It's for a harvest. You thought you were just surviving, but heaven knew you were pioneering, paving a road for others to walk safely, creating a standard for others to follow, birthing a movement through your personal obedience. And now, your elevation isn't just about visibility, it's about responsibility. Carry it with joy, carry it with grace, carry it knowing God is proud of you. And what He's doing through you is going to outlive you.
You've walked through the fire. You've passed the test. You've been lifted by grace. And now God leans in and says, this is just the beginning. The lifting isn't the end of the story, it's the launch. The elevation isn't your final reward, it's your assignment. Everything behind you prepared you. Everything ahead of you now requires you. What was once pain is now power. The places where you were once weak, God has turned into your wisdom. The areas where you were once broken, He's now using to bless others. You're not the same person who started this journey. You've grown, you've changed, you've become. And that version of you is ready. Ready to walk in purpose, ready to speak with authority, ready to serve with clarity. Your faith made room for the future. Every step of obedience built something in heaven. Every prayer laid another brick. Every fast, every sacrifice, every surrender constructed the very platform you now stand on. God didn't waste a single moment, and He's still not done. The lifting was never the final chapter. It was the opening scene of your next anointed assignment. What's coming next will blow your mind, not because you're worthy, but because you're willing. The pace may change, but the presence remains. As God elevates you, life may move faster. Doors may open quicker. People may come looking for your insight, your voice, your presence. But never forget, what carried you in the valley will sustain you in the victory. His presence is still your power source. Keep your rhythms with God sacred. Protect your secret place. Stay anchored in the Word, because elevation without intimacy is just empty motion. You're built for impact, not just applause. Don't chase influence, chase impact. Don't seek validation, seek fruit. You were lifted to make a difference, not just to be seen, but to shine light. And God will make sure the right doors open, the right people see you, the right opportunities come, as long as you stay in position. Let your yes remain sacred. Let your platform remain surrendered. Let God surprise you. What God has for you next won't always make sense. You may walk through doors you didn't apply for. You may speak in rooms you never imagined. You may receive favor in areas you weren't even pursuing. Why? Because this is His doing. When God lifts, He does it exceedingly and abundantly. No eye has seen, no ear has heard, no mind has conceived what God has prepared for those who love Him. 1 Corinthians 2:9. Let go of your timeline. Let God surprise you with His. Carry the fire with you. Wherever you go, carry the fire that got you here. The fire of prayer, the fire of worship, the fire of surrender, the fire of truth. That's your strength. That's your covering. That's your identity. Let others see your light, but never let that light grow dim under the pressure of success. Keep the flame burning. Keep the altar alive. God still has more to do. God will walk with you into the next chapter. You're not stepping into this new season alone. The same God who rescued you, refined you, and raised you is now going ahead of you. He's preparing the people. He's preparing the place. He's preparing the provision. And He will be with you every step. Because lifting was never just about the outcome. It was about partnership. This isn't a solo journey. This is a divine collaboration.
Don't forget to celebrate. Pause and give thanks. Don't rush into the next mission without celebrating the victory. Don't get so focused on what's next that you forget how far you've come. You've grown. You've healed. You've survived. And now you've been lifted. Worship where you are. Dance in your breakthrough. Praise in your promise. Let heaven hear your gratitude, because this moment matters. This is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your impact era. You've been called. You've been tested. You've been trusted. And now you've been lifted. So walk with boldness. Speak with fire. Love with purity. Live with urgency. Because your life is a message. Your testimony is a tool. Your anointing is an answer. And the God who started this good work in you will be faithful to finish it. You are chosen. You are seen. You are worthy of the elevation coming. And you are ready for the places God is about to take you. Because this lifting, it's only the beginning.